Mano Posu. Thank you very much for your time. Good morning to you.
Yes, so I'm not the head of the department. I'm the head of the public relations department.
You are the head of the Public Relations Department.
Yes, I'm not the head of the recruitment.
Okay. We're getting a feedback from you. I don't know. Are you using something?
Not really.
Okay, because we are getting a terrible feedback from you.
But is it okay now?
It's the same, but we can try.
Okay.
We can try. Okay, so we've heard what the president has said, but for many of us who are not so familiar with the way the laws, the current laws that the president was referring to, what's the scheme when it comes to rental in Ghana? If you want to rent a house, what are landlords allowed to do? What are they not allowed to do?
The feedback is affecting myself here. Okay. So the law currently as we have in relation to what the president just mentioned can be found under the Act 220, under Section 25, Subsection 5. And there are two categories of tenancies under that section, short tenancy and long tenancy. When we talk about short tenancy, we are talking about tenancy that does not go beyond 6 months. So from monthly or even daily up to a maximum of 6 months is considered a short tenancy. The one that goes beyond 6 months, which is 1 year, 2 years, 5 years and above, are considered long tenancy. Under the short tenancy, the subsection 5 of the section 25 I mentioned says that the landlord has no right to demand more than 1 month rent advance. So if it's a short tenancy and I come before you as a landlord, what you should ask me is that these my premises, I take monthly rent advance. If you open or you tell me that I take 3 months, I take 5 months, or I take 6 months, then you contravene the law. And in that, there's a punishable offense there. When it comes to the long tenancy, which spans beyond 6 months, when I come before you, what you should demand from me is that these my premises, I take monthly or I take 6 months maximum. When you tell me that or you demand that I should pay 1 year or 2 years, then at that point you contravene the law. But this notwithstanding, the tenant has not been forbid from paying or opting to pay more than the 6 months if it comes to the long tenancy. The law only forbids the landlord from demanding. Nothing forbids the landlord from collecting. Nothing forbids the tenant from opting to pay more than the 6 months. So that's what the law is saying now. We've seen that this is a gap of which a lot of landlords are bypassing this and then inducing tenants to pay more than the 6 months. So that's what the president is saying, that when you go before a landlord and he demands more than the 6 months rent advance, as far as the long tenancy is concerned, and you can produce evidence that it's not the landlord who demanded it. Sorry, it's not you who opted to pay, but it's the landlord who demanded it. You provide us with the evidence, we'll do an investigation, and then if there's a need for prosecution, we lay the person before the magistrate. So this is what the law is as it's speaking.
Very interesting. You said the tenant is not forbidden from offering more than 6 months.
Yes.
So I can offer to say even though it's 6 months, I want to pay 2 years.
Exactly.
The landlord is not at fault when he collects the 2 years.
He collects it, yes.
I see. So in a case where the landlord is the one demanding more than 6 months, what are you supposed to do usually as a tenant?
Yes, you need to provide them with evidence. We don't know how you can get that evidence, but the one key issue is about the tenancy agreement. That tenancy agreement should be given to you to study, understand, and sign before you pay money. So if you bring the tenancy agreement and it's in there that the landlord has stated in the clause that these premises of mine, I only take 2 years, it's clear violation of our laws. But when it's in there that the tenant has paid 2 years, it's very confusing. Is it you who opted or you paid the 2 years, or is the landlord who demanded it? That is not clear that you paid. You paid. We know you paid. But were you induced to pay through that maybe the landlord demanded it, or you opted to pay? Because there are some tenants who want to pay more than the 6 months. We've been receiving them because it maybe he has gone to bank to get a loan. He cannot give you part of the loan, which is meant for its rent, then put somewhere. At the end of the day, if you go and chop it in court, then after 6 months or after a month, he has to go somewhere and get another loan. So some people go for loan. We understand the economy. They go for loan. So if it's meant for rent, we cannot say it should be forced to pay the 6 months, and then after 6 months, he should go and get another loan to come and pay. So some tenants are opting to pay more than the 6 months, but the law forbids the landlord from demanding more than the 6 months. This is a long tenant.
Mm. I don't know which cases. Have you handled the case where you have successfully been able to get a landlord to take 6 months?
Yeah, just as I said, there are some landlords who are collecting monthly. There are some landlords who are demanding 6 months because they trust the tenant in their premises. But there are so many tenants who are not faithful, because most of our cases in our offices are tenants who have been brought there for non-payment of rent. And as I stated, the law forbids a tenant from owing a landlord more than a month's rent. So after a month, if you don't pay me my rent, I have to start legal action against you, of which a lot of landlords are bringing tenants into our premises for non-payment of rent and for recovery of protection. Because if you offend the law, you should be punished. So, about your question, that is the point.
So you have more cases of tenants who are trying to get their rent from of landlords who are trying to get their rent from the tenants than tenants who are complaining about excessive payment, excessive demands for maybe 2 years, 3 years rent advance.
Yes, so the second leg of your question, it does not even appear, because the tenant is afraid of victimization. The tenant is afraid of losing the premises, which is closer to his or a child's school, which is closer to his or a church, which is closer to his or a workplace. So that fear is there that when I go and complain, I will lose that property. So they keep quiet. And again, the underlying factor is evident, because the rule of the game at the court is evident. And because they cannot induce those evidence, some of them keep quiet, even if the landlord demands. But if all of us can stand on this and make sure that we produce evidence for some landlords to be started punishing them, then this issue about excessive demands will come down. But just as I said, there are some landlords who are demanding monthly, who are demanding maximum of 6 months. But those are very negligible considering the number of tenancy or landlord-tenant relationship we have. But the education must go on so that we know exactly what the laws are saying about these rent advances.
Isn't that really the problem, the victimization part? Because it seems your intervention comes a little too late, because somebody has built their house. They want to rent it, and they've decided that if you want to live in my house, it's 2 years rent advance, and you are saying 6 months. It is their house. Is it your house? Is that not really where the issue is? That people don't recognize government's power to do what government is doing with the rent law?
Yeah, so there is this also argument that when you build your property, either you stay in or you dwell in yourself, to give it to your family member or your friend for free without renting it. But when it comes to rental, there are rules and regulations that are guiding rental. So if you want to venture into that business, then you should allow yourself to be guided by these rules and regulations. We understand the law has kept long. In quote, it's a cake. But there are some relevant clauses which are still relevant. There are still clauses which are still relevant. We've taken consent of landlord. We've taken consent of tenants. So we've proposed in the review that we are doing that let's strike an average. If by perception landlords are demanding 2 years and tenants want to pay monthly or maximum of 6 months, then let's start an average of 1 year so that we cap it at 1 year. So the landlord will now have the option to demand monthly up to 1 year, and tenant will also have the option to pay monthly up to 1 year, so that we can meet both of them halfway. So we are taking consent of stakeholders, Chief.
And that is currently in the works, the new law.
Yes, currently in the works. Just last November, we had our massive stakeholders engagement where we brought all our stakeholders, landlords, tenants, immigration, police, estate developers, and so on, even real estate agency council, the agents association. We brought them together. We had a nice deliberation. We factored in, we are about to put it before Parliament again for them to, and just for your interest, we started this since 2010. But government comes and government goes. We are not able to pass before they rise as far as the Parliament is concerned. So we've pushed in this one again and see if before they rise or before they are dissolved, we'll be able to pass it within this administration.
I see. That's interesting. But
Very interesting. Yeah?
do you have what you need to enforce our rent laws? Because most of the times, the rent control departments that I have seen they seem under-resourced. And you're looking at even the numbers of the people who are there. And what can you usually do with it? Do you have what you need usually to be able to enforce the laws?
Boss, you laid the nail right. You laid the hammer right on the nail. We are under-resourced. I'll keep it like this. We are under-resourced.
I see. Have you brought this to the attention of your, what do you call it, your minister?
Oh, year in and year out, we always submit our budget, but what comes in are woefully inadequate. So we and the Ministry of Works and Housing and Water Resources, we've been having discussion with ministers who have passed through the system. Excuse me with my first language. Who have passed through the system. And we've been laying our frustrations, our needs to them. But at the end of the day, the money has to come from the the Ministry of Finance. So that's where the problem is. Well, but we keep pushing. We are still crying until some people will see our cry and how deep those things are. We are woefully underrated.
Let me conclude by asking you, this from Kwame Safo, who says I should ask you how much deposit is allowed. So you're saying 1 year. How much? Because even some of the rooms, when they mention the amounts, you are surprised that they are offering to rent that room to you at that price. Do you regulate the amount or the amounts involved, or yours is strictly the duration?
Yeah, we regulate the amount. That's where we call the assessment of the recoverable rent. And that has to be on an application. That means a landlord can apply for us to come to the premises to assess how much should be paid, being single room, being chamber or being whatever. The tenant also has right to apply for this assessment, and anybody who is interested in that property. So until that application is made, we cannot just move into town and say, no, this is a premises, which is we've known that it's a rented premises. We are just coming to assess and determine the rent and give assessment certificate. No. Each of you have right to apply for the assessment before we come in. So we cannot sit in our office and say that chamber and all at Adabraka or a chamber and all at Latebi or Koshin should cost this without we moving in to look at the value of the land, look at the property rate you pay, look at the materials you use in building your premises until we see those things. And even how you build your property, we cannot just sit in our office and say that no, this suburb, a single room should cost this. No, the law does not permit us to do that.
Thank you. Thank you very much for speaking to us.
I'm grateful, sir.
Emmanuel Kwasu is head of public relations, rent control department, joining us on the line. 35 minutes past 8 is the time. First, we'll take you to the UK shortly because earlier this week, the minority held a press conference over scholarships. Manavita House is renowned for providing a wide range of electronic appliances, including televisions, refrigerators, chest freezers, and air conditioners. However, did you know